Nice. Okay. So we start our shloka recitation, prayers and
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी,
respectful
दंडवत प्रणाम।
obeisances. Dhanvat pranam Mataji. बलदेव प्रभु की जय, सुभद्रा महारानी की जय, लॉर्ड जगन्नाथ की जय, गौर निताई की जय, पंच तत्व की जय, लॉर्ड परशुरामा की जय, लॉर्ड वामन देव की जय, गुरु परंपरा की जय, शिला प्रभुपाद की जय, शिला गुरु महाराज की जय। Okay, we say our prayers. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshunumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Desatarane. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा शिवसादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Okay, chapter 18, conclusion, the perfection of renunciation. Last chapter in summary. So today it's 18.66 shloka. Um, Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam praja aham tvam sarvapapebhyo mokshayishyami ma suchaha. Translation. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So this is what Lord Krishna is telling to Arjuna. So Lord has already given him all the detail, all the information, and now here he is telling him, after all that, just abandon all varieties of religion, everything what I've spoken, just abandon everything. And he has given all the knowledge, and he's telling him, just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Right. So the thing is now, for example, now we are in Kali Yuga. So by the time human society reaches Kali Yuga, it has drifted very far away from how we were supposed to live our lives as compared to how we are living. The condition is very deplorable. So because now in Kali Yuga, people have created so many false religions, pseudo religions, and by and large practicing atheism, living a very irreligious life. All of human society is in such a dangerous position that to be rescued, it must abide by the standard instructions of the Vedas. The Vedas, we know that it's Sama Veda, Yajur Veda, Rig Veda, Tharva Veda, and any other books deriving knowledge from these Vedas are considered Vedic scriptures. Now, Vedas recommended four principles of advancement in spiritual life: Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. And these all depend on the disposition of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everyone should know that in every stage of life, we are dependent upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the instruction of Krishna. Sarva dharman parityajam mamekam sharanam vraja. To take shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna means to act according to the rules and regulations of Bhagavad Dharma, devotional service. And the purport of all Vedic literatures is to induce one to accept the transcendental loving service of the Lord by all means. And the cream of these instructions appears in the form of Bhagavad Gita, which was spoken by Lord Krishna to Arjuna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And this is spoken directly, these instructions are directly given by the Lord himself to his devotee. So Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all Vedic knowledge, and therefore it is the scripture whose instructions should be especially accepted. And in this essence of all Shastra scriptures, Krishna personally advises that one give up all other duties, all other religions, processes of religion, and surrender unto him. Right? So one should not take shelter of any other instructions, for Bhagavad Gita gives direct instructions on how to fulfill the aim of human life. So, and this Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavad Dharma has no contradictions. Bhagavad Dharma means believing in Supreme Lord and following the orders given by the Supreme Lord, Bhagwan, as stated in Bhagavad Gita. Right? So these are the instructions, direct instructions. He's telling him, Sarva Dharman Parityajam Amekam Sharanam Braja. So in Bhagavad Dharma, there is no question of what you believe, what I believe. Conceptions of your religion, my religion are completely absent from Bhagavad Dharma. So thus, whatever in the present age, whatever religions, whatever practices people have created on their own, drifted away from the real religion, Bhagavad Dharma never changes. It is as it is. There is no question, there is no doubt. It is to be practiced as it is. And Lord Krishna is personally has given instructions in the Bhagavad Gita. This is the direct instructions from Lord to his devotee. So God is one, God is for everyone, therefore everyone must surrender to God. That is the pure conception of religion. Whatever God orders constitutes religion, right? Dharma tu sakshat bhagvat pranitam. For example, there are many systems of religion in which animal sacrifice is recommended. Such animal sacrifices are inauspicious both for the performer and for the animal. So it maybe in Kali Yuga it is maybe in some places sometimes permitted to sacrifice an animal before the goddess Kali and eat it instead of purchasing meat from a slaughterhouse. This is just one example. Permission to do such thing after sacrifice in the presence of goddess Kali is not the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As per the scriptures, we know that killer of any animal must be killed in the next life by the same animal. This is the law of nature. So rather, it is a simple concession for the miserable person who is not able to give up meat eating. It is meant to restrict his desire for unrestricted meat eating. Such a religious system is condemned, not to be followed. Therefore, Krishna says to give up all other deities and surrender unto him. That is the last word in religion. So, if one follows a concocted system or religion, he is envious not only to others but also of himself. Any religious system, but the process of Bhagavad Dharma service is as an eternal servant of the Supreme Personality of God, is a system of envy of one's own self and of others, right? And for this, he is subject to punishment by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in many different ways. Consequently, this system of religion is useless. So, in this person will continue to wander in the wheel of karma. He's subject to the results of his past deeds, the karma, and this is carried out by the laws of nature. And to get free from this karma cycle, karma chakra, the wheel of results of one's karma, one should take to bhakti marga, devotional service, or Krishna consciousness. That is the only remedy. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto, 5th chapter, 51st shloka, it is mentioned that one's real dharma or occupational duty is described Dharmam tu Sakshat Bhagvat Pranitam, where Dharmaraja himself, that is Yamaraja, is describing to Yamadutas, his order carriers, that a living entity is a spiritual identity, has a spiritual identity, and therefore his occupational duty or his religion is also spiritual. So the real dharma is that which is advised in Bhagavad Gita. One must give up all one's material occupational duties, just as one gives up his material body, whatever one's occupational duty, even according to the Varna Ashrama system, we know that this Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and so whatever one's occupational duty is. So these all four have their religious occupational duties. So one must give it up and engage in one's spiritual function. So Yamaraja states here in that this religious principle is understandable. It can be understood if one follows the parampara system of Lord, the four bona fide paramparas, that is Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, four Kumara, Sri Sampradaya, that is the standard authorities. So one's real dharma or occupational duties explained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Swarupa or actual identity of the living entity is described by Lord Sri Chaitanya. What does Lord Chaitanya say? He explains to Sanatana Swami the real constitutional position of the individual. That is Jivera Swarupa Haya Krishnera Nitya Dasa in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela. So he said directly that each and every individual soul is eternally a servitor of Krishna. So we know that in this material world, everybody is actually serving the other person. Nobody is independent. Nobody is perfect. Everybody is dependent on someone. Everybody is taking and giving service. So the person is not perfect. And only Krishna is perfect. We are imperfect. So when one is fixed in the understanding that he is part and parcel of the Supreme Soul and that his eternal position is to serve in association with the Supreme Lord, he becomes self-realized. And this position of rightly understanding oneself cuts the knot of material attraction. Hirdaya Granthi Bhedanam. So, due to false ego or false identification of oneself, the spirit soul with the body and the material world, one is entrapped by Maya. But as soon as one understands that he is qualitatively the same substance as the Supreme Lord, because he belongs to the same category of the spirit soul, and that his perpetual position is to serve, one attains Atma Darshanam and Hridaya Granthi Bhedanam self realization. So he achieves self realization. And when one can cut the knot of attachment to the material world, his understanding is called knowledge. And that is how it is. So Atma Darshana means to see oneself by the knowledge. Therefore, when one is freed from the false ego by the cultivation of real knowledge, he sees himself, and that is the ultimate necessity of human life. The soul is thus isolated from the entanglement of the material nature, that is 24 categories of material nature. So if someone is 100% engaged in the service of the Lord, he is to be understood as liberated. One must understand whether or not he is liberated by his activities in devotional service and not by other symptoms, strictly by activities in devotional service. So while in the material world we manufacture so many duties, so many religions, so many occupational duties in the name of so many isms, but our actual occupational duty, actual religion is to free ourselves from the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. So that is the real goal. That is, once we are free from this cycle, that means we have a spiritual body. We are going back home, back to Godhead, and that is our spiritual home. That is our spiritual nature. And for this purpose, one must first be liberated from material bondage. So Lord Krishna here personally advises to give up all other duties and surrender unto him. So, so why is Lord Krishna doing all this, right? Um, he is telling about the linking process or the religious principle or the purpose of reviving our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead is to elevate from the material bondage, material contamination, and this is recommended. And but the process recommended by Supreme Personality of Godhead should be accepted as the best, and he is giving this direct instruction, final instruction. And why so? If one follows, he is also giving assurance. This process is the best, and he is assuring that I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. And why is Lord Krishna doing this? Because Lord is known as Kripana Vatsala, because he is extremely kind to the conditioned souls. So Lord appears whenever there is discrepancies in the execution of religious principles. We know that Yada Yada Hi Dharmasya Glanir Bhakti Bharata. So he is saying that he comes for this. So Lord is extremely anxious to deliver the conditioned souls, and therefore he instructs all of us to return home back to Godhead. And when we accept his instructions, we serve him, we actually become happy. While and as long as we are taking care of our material senses, working according to our material senses, we are in material life. But as soon as we act according to our real transcendental direction of the Lord, we are our position is spiritual. The activities of bhakti or devotional service are directly under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the fact of all this thing is that whether we are in material world or in spiritual world, there are three things which you will realize that they are there in both. One is there is seva, and sevaka. That is the person served, the process of service, and the servant. So whether in material world, we realize, understand that Lord is the Supreme Personality of God, and we surrender to Him and we serve Him. We are actually doing what we would be doing in the spiritual world. We are servants and we are sevaka, that is, and we are serving, and that is the process of we are actually practicing the process of service. That is seva, and we are servant. And who is to be served? That is Lord is to be served. So the savior, the person served, is Lord Himself. So whether we do it here or there, the process is same. The only thing is, by practicing it here, practicing devotion service, we'll actually go back home, back to Godhead, and actually resume our service there in the spiritual world. That is how it is. So, so these three items are actually completely spiritual, and these are eternal, and they exist here and there. One who is doing it in knowledge He is a devotee, one who is not actually doing, who doesn't have this knowledge. He is actually serving somebody else in this material world, and that is how it is. Whether we willingly do it in spiritual knowledge, surrendering to the Lord, or in illusion also we are serving, and but that is like we are serving other persons in the illusion, and thinking that we are the enjoyer, but that is not the case. um, so that is how it is. So the conclusion here is, um, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna himself, speaks of this pure, uncontaminated religion, where he says that Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Raja. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender to me. Just surrender unto me, and I will give you protection. From all sinful reactions if you surrender to me. So one must understand one's relationship with the God and then act accordingly. This is Bhagavata Dharma. It means Bhakti Yoga, and this is the most confidential knowledge, and it is extremely confidential, secret, and extremely difficult to understand, but it is very easy to understand if one takes shelter of a pure devotee, a guru. If one approaches the Supreme Personality of Godhead through a bona fide agent, the spiritual master, in the disciplic succession, for example, disciplic succession of Narad Muni. So we know there are four bona fide paramparas, and it's not just all the scriptures say that. So we know that Narad Muni said the same thing. Yamaraja, Dharmaraja himself is saying the same thing. Bhakt Prahlad Maharaj said the same thing. And that is, if one takes the shelter of the spiritual teachers instead of the material teachers, this knowledge is possible to understand. Otherwise, one will continue to remain lost in this material world. So this direct instruction we understand when he gives it to the Arjuna. So we know that Arjuna is a servant. Arjuna is the individual consciousness. He is being advised to dovetail with the supreme consciousness, that is Supreme Personality of God, Lord Krishna. And he is finally telling Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Raja. Just surrender unto me. So this so these instructions are meant for us also. We are servant, and once we realize, we can resume our service here. And whenever we are free from this material body, and we go back home, back to God, and we can resume our service there. So the sum and substance of all religious life is to execute the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and one who does so is perfectly religious. So, and this message where Lord Shri Krishna is saying Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. So we know that we also know that there are different methods, like one, if somebody serves demigods, that is a indirect method. So demigods themselves are servants of the Lord, and so they'll, that is a longer route. One will elevate himself to maybe higher planetary systems, and if and when he achieves perfection there, he'll transcend the material world and go back to spiritual world. But that is a longer route. That is very time consuming. That is very indirect. That is a longer path. But here, Lord Krishna himself is telling that direct path which leads to him. And so all we have to do is just practice this. And this is the final instruction. This is the in the final chapter he is telling, after having given all the knowledge, Lord Krishna is telling me to practice this, surrender unto him, and he will give him all protection. So who in this material world or anywhere else, if you see, if anybody takes to demigod worship or anything, nobody can give complete protection to anybody. It is only Krishna. He is empowering even the demigods and his devotees. You know, so he is the one who actually empowers others to protect. So it is only Krishna who can give complete protection, because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the master of everything. He is the controller of everything. So when he says what he says, we just have to follow it, and success is assured. He is saying that he will protect. So thank you very much, Prabhuji Mataji. Thanks for joining the shloka recitation and chanting session. So please continue to join tomorrow. So Hare Krishna. So if anybody has any questions, you can let me know. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Then Pranam.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna to
Prabhuji.
all.